Grant Robertson.
Well, Madam Speaker, welcome to episode 1 of the new government's version of Back to the Future. And here we are, taking us back at warp speed to 1989. 1989, I was in 7th form. Madam Speaker, that's what the Reserve Bank should be doing, contributing to the overall economic well-being of New Zealanders. We changed the purpose of this Act, we changed the objectives of the Act to do two things: keep prices under control and keep people in work. And Madam Speaker, that is a laudable goal for this.
Chloe Swarbrick.
Madam Speaker, it will come as no surprise to members opposite that, of course, the Green Party of Aotearoa New Zealand opposes this bill. We oppose. Madam Speaker, this is a waste of time, and the Greens oppose it.
So I call the Honourable David Seymour.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And in a rare burst of honesty, we just heard a Green member finish her speech by saying this is a waste of time. And I completely agree with her. That's a good description of the speech she gave. We heard from Grant Robertson, and the most interesting thing in his speech was that he said he made it to 7th form. Not something I would have guessed. But I think we can be pretty sure that he didn't do maths or economics, because he tried to argue that because Australia has a dual mandate and England doesn't, and England had higher inflation than Australia at one point, the argument of removing the dual mandate is wrong. Now, no one that's thought for a moment about these things would say that there's a correlation from two data points, but I assume that Grant Robertson spent his 7th form doing art history and other things that didn't equip him for being the Minister of Finance. Madam Speaker, back here in the real world, we know the history of monetary policy. In fact, we know it a long way back. Some people say that men spend too much time thinking about the Roman Empire. I don't know anything about that. But what I do know is that the Roman Empire collapsed in part because of hyperinflation and debasement of its currency. We know that some of the most terrific events of the 20th century were in part precipitated by hyperinflation across Europe. We know that when the governments around the world went overboard with hyperinflation, or at least excessive money printing, after the GFC, we saw political instability. We know that when governments printed too much money and created stagflation in the 1970s, we had economic and political instability that led to the reforms of the late 70s and 80s. What we know on this side of the House is that government has one simple job when it comes to monetary policy, and that is to maintain price stability. It's to give the people reassurance that $1 in your pocket this year will be worth $1 next year. And as soon as you take away that certainty, people realise that their efforts don't make a difference, that some people who are asset rich get wealthy as the Reserve Bank prints too much money. They realise that their savings aren't worth as much as they used to be, that their wages aren't worth as much as they used to be, as the thief in their pocket called inflation erodes the value of their savings and ensures that their efforts to earn their money don't buy them as much at the end of the week. And the latest episode in that long historical story of governments neglecting currency, from the denarius and the Roman Empire leading to its collapse, to the GFC and the problems that we've had over the last decade with political instability and populist movements around the world, well, they've had a more recent episode right here in New Zealand. Grant Robertson, he of the 7th form, art history but no mathematics, he is the guy who was responsible for printing far too much money under the monetary policy that said, hey, Reserve Bank, you don't have to maintain price stability. You can do it kind of in the medium term. You can kind of print more money. If you do something with employment or maybe house prices, then that's all okay. And the Reserve Bank took the initiative and they printed dollar after dollar. In fact, pretty soon they were printing billions. And what New Zealanders saw all up and down the country was they saw the value of their savings and their wages eroding. They saw people getting stupendously wealthy with a massive increase in house prices through the COVID period. And all of a sudden, people realised that if the government couldn't look after the value of $1 in their pocket, it couldn't do much else. And that, Madam Speaker, is why the people of New Zealand have put the empty rhetoric of the Chloe Swarbricks and the Grant Robertsons over there and put the government over here. And that's why the government now, in urgency, is sending a very clear message that we know the lessons of history, that we know the value of a dollar to the hard-working people who earned it, and we're going to preserve the value of that dollar by making very clear the Reserve Bank of New Zealand has one job above all others, and that is to make sure that the value of a dollar in your pocket today is worth a dollar this time next year, or very, very close to it, so people can have trust in the state, trust in New Zealand, and trust that their own efforts make a difference. That's what it's about, and isn't it great this country's under new management that gets the basics right? Thank you, Madam Speaker.